Hi, my name is Michelle Tuft. I have a blog called timetoliveclean.com where I talk a lot about my journey to becoming healthy again. I'm still on that journey, but it's been 2 years now since I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I chose for the most part to go after that nutritionally, rather than conventional medicine protocols like chemotherapy, radiation, all that stuff. I turned that down, and I have chosen to go after my health in other ways. I'm a living example of someone who had stage 2C breast cancer with lymph node involvement, who is good 2 years out, because I changed everything. I kind of saw cancer as a red light on my dashboard telling me I needed to change, and I did. It's been a journey, I'm still on it, obviously, but I just wanted to tell you the story because the word cancer brings so much fear. And I remember when I was diagnosed, I was really, really afraid. It was crippling, almost overwhelming, crippling, dark. I am married. My husband Phil and I have been married for 27 years. He was a rock during this time, and he still is. He always has been, really. We have 5 kids and grandkids, and when I was diagnosed, I was in graduate school, and I was teaching, and our daughter was getting married. So it was a storm. It was quite a ride. I just wanted you to know that you don't have to be afraid, and that cancer does not have to be a death sentence. I'm not a doctor, so I am not telling you what to do, but I'm telling you what I did. And I could not reconcile poisoning my body with chemotherapy, or burning it with radiation, or putting drugs in it that have tons of side effects. That didn't equal healing in my brain. I just couldn't reconcile those things to healing. I was going to try to heal my body. Why would I tear it down first? And then I found this guy, Chris Beat Cancer. Check him out, chrisbeatcancer.com. If you see this, Chris, hi. You've been a saving grace to me, because he was diagnosed 15 years ago with stage 3C colorectal cancer, bad news, and after surgery, he opted to do everything nutritionally, and 15 years out, he's healthy. So his whole thing is, well, not his whole thing, but one of the things he says is, my body created the cancer, my body knows how to heal it. And I think that's 100% right. I'm not saying that chemo, radiation, and drugs are wrong. They're an option. And in some cancers, they're a good option. But for mine and for me, it wasn't. So the reason I'm doing this video is I want you to see that it can be done, and that cancer does not have to be a death sentence, and that you can move on from cancer and live a really happy life and clean. In 2017, in the fall, I was diagnosed with DCIS, which is something I can't pronounce. It is cancer in the milk duct. And technically it's stage 0 because it can't ever get out of the milk duct. So, but for some reason they treat it like cancer. So our surgeon recommended surgery to get that taken out, which we did. I had been working with a naturopath for 2 years to balance my hormones because they were nuts, crazy. And I found out my thyroid was like broken, and a bunch of other stuff going on, PCOS and Lyme's disease and stuff that I didn't even know. So I was already working on all of that, And so when I got the DCIS diagnosis, I was terrified, of course. But I was walking down my hallway one night doing laundry, and a phrase dropped into my head. And I don't know where you are at with faith in God, but I've believed since I was 16, and just live my life with God. You know what I mean? As kind of always there, always influencing me, always talking to me, always just helping me be decent. You know what I mean? So anyway, so I'm walking down my hallway, and this phrase drops in my head out of the blue sky, and it was, "This is not for your destruction." That came actually before the diagnosis. I had nothing. All I had was a lump at that point. And I remember thinking, what isn't for my destruction? What do you mean? I mean, I've been a writer my whole life. I've loved to write, and I went to grad school recently for English to try to become a better writer. And foreshadowing is a thing, right? So to me, that was like divine foreshadowing, you know? So it kind of prepared me, but it scared me a little too, but it prepared me. So then when I was diagnosed, it was almost like I kind of knew that I was going to be. But anyway, before the actual diagnosis, but between biopsies, I woke up one morning with a song in my head that I couldn't get out. And you know how it just sort of hovers back there and you're like, whatever. Well, I was having coffee on my deck, and I could not get this song out of my head. And it was from a 70s artist that I never listened to. And Phil came out, my husband, and we were chatting, having our morning coffee. And I told him, God, I got this song in my head and I can't get it out. And he said, what is it? And I said, it's that old 70s song. I had to listen to get it. And I'm like, oh yeah, don't you worry about a thing, ba, ba, ba. You know that song? Are you getting this? So, oh my gosh. So I wake up with the song, Don't You Worry About a Thing. Well, that's great. So Phil and I hung on to that all day. The next night, I woke up at 2 a.m. with a different song. And I tried to rewind in my head to my first song because it was so encouraging and helpful. And the second song was The Best Is Yet to Come. Wow. The next night, I got another song. At the time, I didn't know the name of it, but the chorus that I got in my head was, I love you, I really do. So I took those as 3 words from God telling me, don't you worry, the best is yet to come, and I love you. And it carried me through, So then the DCIS diagnosis came. I had 2 surgeries because the first surgery, in the surrounding tissue, they found an actual cancer tumor, not just in the milk duct. And that was weird because it didn't show up on the mammogram. So I was an anomaly to our medical community. They couldn't figure out how I could possibly have a tumor that didn't show up on a mammogram. So then they went back in to make sure they had all the boundaries of that tumor, because apparently if you break open a cancer tumor in surgery, it can spread to the rest of your body. And while they did that, they took a lymph node to make sure that was clean, and it wasn't. Out of 3 lymph nodes, 2 of them came back cancerous, and that was a huge problem because how could I have cancer in my lymph nodes when it didn't even show up on a mammogram? Well, anyway, so that was disturbing, obviously, to say the least. And in between all that, somewhere I had the songs, I had the phrase, this isn't for your destruction, hung on to that pretty fiercely. We went to see some friends on the North Shore. We're from Minnesota, in case you can't tell by my accent. And we went to stay with them, and they're God followers too, and they took us to a meeting they go to, and the people there prayed for me and prayed healing and all that. And but that night, I was looking at this book that my friend had, and it detailed the connections between disease and emotions. And I looked up breast cancer, and I looked up thyroid, because my thyroid was kind of the biggest thing we were working on. And breast cancer, it said that the connection was almost always mother-daughter stuff, and that thyroid was severe self-hatred. So my husband and I have been campus pastors for 15 years, and I teach students not to hate themselves. I teach students to look in the mirror and tell themselves that they're awesome. I teach them to go out and be part of the solution, not part of the problem. We teach them to communicate to understand, not to win. It doesn't matter if someone's different than you, or they disagree with you, or you with them. You're here to love, not to judge, right? So that's what we try to teach. And here I was showing up as severe self-hatred. What the heck? So the next morning I got up and I sat down at the kitchen table by myself, and I just I sat with the Lord like he was right there, and I just said, what's up with this self-hatred stuff? And I had the knowing come again, that knowing that someone's talking to you, but it's not really you, And he said, you don't hate yourself now, but you severely hate the young you, the you were when your girls were little. And he had me there because I'm a different person than I was when my kids were little. I'm a completely different person now. And it's true, we all change. Every 2 to 5 years, people change. It's just documented, But I was a yeller. I was really impatient. I didn't have a lot of empathy. Didn't have a lot of understanding. I just wasn't who I am now. And God sat with me that morning, and he walked me through forgiving myself, starting with the oldest house we lived in that I can remember, the first one we were married, up through present day. Every time I remember like yelling at my kids, or being impatient with them, or ignoring them, or cutting them off, or whatever I did, I went through and forgave myself for every one of them. And not only forgave myself, but I blessed that young mom like she was a different person. Like I was talking to her kind of, like timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly stuff, And the cool thing is, God doesn't live in time. So with him, as long as he initiates it and I'm not fishing around, I went back with him in time kind of and forgave her, me, and blessed my kids and told them the things that I wished I had told them. How beautiful they are, and how smart they are, and how funny they are, and how clever they are, and how what they were feeling was normal and okay, and that I loved them no matter what they ever did or said. So that 2-hour session at that kitchen table at 5 a.m, I believe was the crux of my cancer healing. And since then, my relationship with my girls has been infinitely better. Like, I can't tell their stories, because it's not my story, but there was an upset. There was some pain in those relationships. And now, it's not perfect. We're all growing, right? But it's so much better. Like, I feel like I've got my girls back. So, anyway, after that, I came back here and finished my semester, and our daughter was getting married, so it was chaos, lots of going on. I went on a like a accidental fast. I didn't plan on fasting, but stress, kind of shuts your body down sometimes. And I actually fasted for like 2 months-ish. Looking back, one day during it, I thought, gosh, I'm not eating really. I realized I was eating 500 to 600 calories a day, which technically in the long run is not healthy, but I found out later that that kind of fasting flushes crud from your system, like cancer cells and everything, like flushes crud. And that's just another way that God took care of me during this cancer thing. I was fasting and didn't even realize it was helping me. And then my daughter's wedding was coming, and I told our medical community that I didn't want to hear from them till after the wedding. I just wanted to enjoy Christmas, and I wanted to enjoy the wedding stress-free. And so they said, okay, we won't bother you, and they didn't. Very cool. But they did want me to get an MRI because MRIs light up everything. And their big question was, how can she have cancer in the lymph nodes if it didn't show up on a mammogram? Must be that she has tons of these little tumors everywhere. And that's why it's in her lymph nodes. So I had the MRI after Christmas, and it came back clean. Clean, like lymph node clean, like breast tissue clean, like neck and everything clean. 6 months later, I had another one that was clean too. I've had blood work since then, cleaner, and I consider myself cancer-free. So, I know it's only been 2 years, but my blood work is excellent. And I've learned how to talk to myself, I am healthy, I am whole, I am well. And the minute I feel that crud, like I'm bitter or I'm resentful or somebody hurt me or whatever, I forgive. I forgive myself. I forgive them. I'm not really great at brave conversations yet. If you've read any Brené Brown, you know what I'm talking about. But I'm getting there, and I don't intend to ever hold that kind of hatred against myself again. We've done everything nutritionally we know to do. It's actually on my blog, all of it I've documented on my blog. And right now, I am in an experiment. I'm in a 3-month experiment doing a vegan, plant-based, whole foods diet. I have cut out all processed food except stuff I process in my kitchen, or stuff like I have sprouted grain bread or whatever that someone else processed, but I know it's clean. Yeah, and I'm in the middle of that experiment, so that's one you just have to follow on my blog. And yeah, anyway, so one more thing I want to tell you that's really cool. This all happened in the fall of 2017. Well, in February of 2018, we were going down to Rochester for a meeting that we have with the group that Phil and I are ordained with. And I was kind of talking to the Lord in my head, all the way down, because I was feeling scared. What if I did the wrong thing? What if I should have done chemo, radiation, and tamoxifen? What if I was hurting myself? What if it would come back? What if the cancer was going to come back? And I was scared. I was just still scared. And I was asking him, I didn't even tell my husband this, but I was just like, God, I need reassurance that I'm doing the right thing, So we're at this meeting, and there's a woman there with a bald head. And I avoided her because I thought she was a chemotherapy patient, and I did not want to hear about it. You know what I mean? She found me, like, on the last day we were there. And she said, I have to talk to you because I had a dream last night, and I came to work today, and I told my coworkers about it, and they all said, we know who it's for. You need to talk to Michelle. Right? Okay, so if you are somebody who mostly kind of believes in God, but that's a little freaky. Let me just tell you this. God is God, and he speaks weird a lot. So this was weird. So she said, I had a dream last night, and I dreamt that I was seeing a garden, and Jesus was there, and he said, do you see this garden? This garden that she's making is doing work. This garden is cultivating the healing. So there was more to it than that, but that was the gist of it. And the garden is me. You know, my body is the garden. And God spoke to a woman that I don't even know, who found me and told me that he wanted to tell me that I was doing the right thing. And since then, my fear of cancer coming back has gone to almost zero. The more I read, the more I research, the more I study, the more I see the interviews that Chris does on chrisbeatcancer.com, the more I'm finding that I'm on the right path. Our bodies can create cancer. Our bodies can create heart disease. Our bodies can do all these things, but our bodies can also heal these things given the right tools. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just giving my body the right tools to heal. And yeah, so that's my cancer story. You don't have to be afraid. You don't. Cancer does not have to be a death sentence. So find out what you need for you. You know, you don't have to get on anybody's cancer train. You get to choose. You're not a victim. So that's what I want you to know. You don't have to be afraid. Anyway, have a great day. Catch you next time.